Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, and today I want to talk about the Battlefield community, and not just your side of things as the audience, but also content creators, because what Battlefield 5 has brought out of this community so far frustrates me. The level of toxicity for a multitude of reasons has been quite staggering in my opinion. Now your mind might instantly go towards the authenticity issues in the game, the inclusion of female soldiers, etc, but that's not what I'm focusing on here, or at least it's not the sole focus. That issue has been talked to death, whichever side of the argument you stand upon. No, my issue is with the overbearingly negative behaviour that seems to have spawned through Battlefield 5, or if not spawned, then certainly intensified. Not everyone of course, not the majority even. I can say from my side of things, for example, that my community here on YouTube tends to be extremely respectful. The vast majority of people are very decent, understanding, and will talk in a mature fashion. But there's a significant chunk of the wider Battlefield community that I can't attribute the same statement to. And yes, I did say this includes some content creators. So if making this video makes a few people consider how they conduct themselves, even for just a marginal improvement, then I'll see it as a success. That's the aim of what I'm doing here, trying to draw a light upon what I think is a problem. So what examples do I have? Well, from a wide perspective, how about the visceral negativity someone such as Westy receives when he gives his opinion on something in Battlefield 5? His opinion about something in a video game. Now you don't have to agree with Westy, you don't have to even like Westy, but he deserves to be spoken to like a decent human being. Slinging insults at him and calling him a shill does nothing to further your argument or to change anything in any positive regard. And specifically the term shill that is thrown around, you have to state when you're being sponsored for content, which he does. The rest of the time when he doesn't state it, or when other game changers don't state it, it's because they're not sponsored for that piece of content. And I've also seen the vast majority of these game changers criticize things in the game before, so I personally don't consider them shills. I really don't. If you do, then that's fine, that's up to you. But just be aware that throwing that at them all the time isn't likely going to get a decent response from them or change anything in any fashion. You're kind of just closing off the argument, when instead you could ask them about these things, you could get more information, you could state what your problems are, and they could interact with you if they choose to. And this point goes for how some sections of the community deals with a vast number of content creators. It's not okay, and we can do better, especially considering that well thought out and decently voiced thoughts and opinions add so much more to a discussion than hatred and name calling. And the people out there that have called me a shill before, I've never been sponsored once by EA, I'm not affiliated with them in any way, shape or form. So again, just throwing these terms around any way you like just kind of invalidates your argument, especially when it couldn't even possibly be true. And we can also go further than this. Rather than near obscene negativity due to someone's essentially harmless opinion, what about due to factors that an individual simply cannot alter? An example of this would be the pretty large number of people who couldn't pick out the enemy very well in the Battlefield 5 beta, myself being one of them, only to be met with statements such as, "You're lying" or "You're blind." I mean, if you want to talk about being blind, how about having mass amounts of evidence staring you in the face that a significant portion of the community can't see enemies comfortably, and yet you still deny that they even might be a problem, just because it's not a problem for you? That's blind. Blind to the possibility that the experience of others might be different, purely because it isn't a factor in your reality, especially when we're playing across different platforms, PC and console, which have different levels of graphical fidelity. Why is there the need to be like this in response to honest feedback, provided without a hint of malice? But what about the flip side? What about content creators? Well, there are also two facets to my frustration in this regard. We'll lead off with how some content creators deal with, address, and discuss the wider audience, i.e. you guys. Labeling sections of the community as morons, idiots, embarrassments, or whatever else really doesn't add anything positive to any given discussion. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of this. And not because someone is being an idiot. Of course that happens. What I'm referring to is people being called idiots and such like for just having a different opinion. Not for a lack of understanding, a lack of perceived will to adapt, or anything of that manner. Just literally for liking or disliking something in a video game. The main focus we can jump to is attrition, something that's pretty harshly splitting community opinion. I don't like the attrition system. I don't think it adds entertainment to the game, and I don't see it as being particularly worthwhile. The worst I've said about it is that playing solo with attrition in place is about as fun as repeatedly punching yourself in the balls. Was that over the line at the time? Well, I don't think so. However, if any DICE devs were offended by that, then I apologise. It was a slip away from how I usually discuss matters. But I also don't proclaim my opinion to be factual in any way. It's clearly just my opinion, whereas I know some other people state their opinion as fact, which again I have a real problem with, especially when you get really high high and mighty about it. That aside, I can see why some people do like attrition. I can see why squads that always play together may enjoy its inclusion, etc. I don't think that those people are idiots or morons or whatever else. I think they just enjoy something that I don't. I think altering attrition would be better for the game overall, but I don't dislike or want to vilify anyone that feels differently. It would be nice if everyone thought this way. Unfortunately, this isn't the case. I may well agree with the opinions of some about certain issues, but I can't agree with how they choose to voice their opinions. And I can say that this isn't simply an unfortunate side effect of gaming, content creation, and everything that goes with it. No, this is specific to certain games, Battlefield being one of them. A series which appears to have a distinct underlying theme of elitism from some sectors of the community. Something that games such as Destiny, for example, has by no means the same level of problems with. The vast, and I mean vast majority of Destiny content creators are beyond respectful, especially towards each other. Which brings me to my second point regarding some Battlefield content creators. I don't like to see the level of hostility that gets thrown around between recognized members of the community, whether it's on Twitter or in video responses. Let me make it clear again, this is by no means everyone and by no means all of the time. But on too many occasions, I see content creators being petty, being insulting, and refusing to agree to disagree, even when the disagreement has clearly run its course. And never more so since the Battlefield 5 train started chugging. There's literally personal attacks and name calling between recognized individuals. This isn't the example that should be set for the community. There's all of this imploration for audiences to show respect and understanding whilst maintaining some of its dignity, and yet the individuals themselves can't even manage it when interacting with each other. Some are trying so hard to validate their own opinion that they forget to show even a modicum of restraint or class. Whether you're right or wrong, once you start to be unnecessarily insulting, it really doesn't even matter anymore. You've potentially sullied your opinion to the point of disregard. And so those are essentially my frustrations with the community currently. Again, not everyone, but it's a larger chunk than I feel is normal. And this is without mentioning the flack that the devs receive. Sure, they might not be producing something you like, but they're still people doing their job, and likely to the best of their abilities. Disagree with them all you like, give them your feedback, but show restraint and respect. I guess my overall questions to the Battlefield community are, how did we get here, and why can't we do better? Now, I'll quickly take us over to the Board of Awesome here and try to up the positivity a bit, because these epic people support the channel on Patreon, and that allows me to do this full time currently, so I truly mean it when I say thank you, as well as thank you for the recent support in the streams. It really does mean a lot. If you want to watch me stream, I'm doing one every 2 or 3 days at the minute, and if you want to join the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and in my pinned comment. And with all of that said, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters.